Alright, so we are going to try to do something pretty important here. We're going to try to answer this question that you have right here. Why does the moon go through phases? Now, people have a very hard time conceptualizing this phenomenon. By conceptualize I mean understanding it. And what you need to remember here are basically four things. That the moon is orbiting the Earth. So the moon goes around the Earth. The Earth is revolving around the sun. One half of the Earth and moon is always lit by the sun. And then probably most importantly, as the moon orbits the Earth, the angle between the sun, the Earth, and the moon changes. And we see different amounts of the illuminated half of the moon. Half of the moon is always lit, and because this angle is changing, we're going to see different amounts of that half. Okay, so let's take a look at a diagram. Maybe that will explain. In this diagram, what you have over here is the sun. Okay, and the sun is a long ways away. We see the moon, and in this diagram, these are the 8 different phase positions of the moon. The moon is orbiting in that direction. And what I want you to look at is if we could draw a line here, we see the half of the moon that's facing the Earth. And so here, I see that half, so on. I'm getting better. Okay, we see the half that's facing us, and what that looks like are these pictures here. Okay? When the moon is in this position, if the angle between the sun, the Earth, and the moon is 0 degrees, we see nothing of the illuminated half, and that's what we call a new moon. Okay? When the moon moves up to this position here, the angle now between the sun and the Earth and the moon is 45 degrees. Now we're going to see this crescent on the right hand side of the moon. That's where the side the sun is shining on, and this is called a waxing crescent. When the angle is 90 degrees between the moon, the Earth, and the sun, now we're seeing half of the illuminated and half of it's going to be dark, so this is what we would see. This is called a first quarter. When the angle is 135 degrees, this angle is what we're talking about right here. It's 135 degrees. We see what we call a waxing gibbous. And here, most of the right-hand side is lit, and you've got a little bit on the left-hand side that's dark. Now, the word waxing means to grow, and the opposite word, waning, means to disappear. When the angle between the sun, the Earth, and the moon is 180 degrees, we see the complete illuminated half, and that's what we call a full moon. And then the phases just reverse. Now, as the moon continues its revolution around the Earth, here my angle is 135, and this time what I see is light on the left-hand side, it's dark on the right. That's a waning gibbous. So waxing gibbous and waning gibbous are paired phases. And the only difference here is what side of the moon is lit. On this side up here, it's going to be the right side. And down here, it is the left side. So my angle here is 90 degrees. It's going to be a quarter phase, and this time it's the left side. So that's third quarter, 45 degrees between the three. That's going to be a crescent phase, and again this time it's the left hand side that's lit. Looks like this. Okay, so this diagram you need to keep in your head, or hopefully you've got a copy of it in your notebook that you filled out as I was going through this. Maybe. Alright, This is another diagram I would strongly suggest you put in your notebook. You might want to pause this video right now and draw this in your diagram. What I did is I simply drew a circle and I drew a line. Bisecting the circle, I put me in the middle here, and then I labeled it. I did the sun positions, and typically when we talk about phases, we're talking about 6 p.m. in the west, that's when the sun sets. 6 a.m. in the east, that's when the sun rises. Noon is when the sun is straight up. Midnight is when the sun is straight down. And then I just bisected these times. Halfway between 6 a.m. and noon is 9 a.m. And I say this is above the eastern horizon, or the other way we can say it, it's high in the east. Halfway between noon and 6, I see 3 p.m. and this again is above the west horizon or high in the west. Halfway between 6 p.m. and midnight, it's 9 p.m. That's below the western horizon. Halfway between midnight and 6 a.m. is 3 a.m. and that's below the eastern horizon. So the sun position, that if I give you the time of day, that's telling you where the sun is. What's written in red here, these are the different locations that we talked about. If I'm going to ask you locate the moon or tell me where the sun is, you can use that terminology. And then the phases are the 8 different phases. You've got new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, and then you have the 2 crescents, and then you have the 2 gibbous phases. Those are what we mean by the time of month. So, interesting problem. I've got about 4 different slides here for you on this. I'm going to give you 2 pieces of information and ask you for a third. So if we have a waxing crescent moon and it's straight up in the sky, so in this case I've got the moon up here. So here's the moon straight up in the sky. I'm asking, what time is it? Well, I know the angle between the moon, let's put this on pointer here, the moon, the earth, and the sun is 45 degrees. So the sun can either be here or the sun can be here. Okay, because a crescent means 45 degrees. So the sun is either here or here. How do I decide? Waxing means the light is on the right-hand side of the moon. So I go to the moon and go right, and that means the sun is here. So what time it is? It's 3 p.m. Okay? Try another one. Now it's midnight. So if it's midnight, that means the sun is down here. Okay? The moon is straight up. Okay, so from the sun to the earth to the moon, that is 180 degrees. What's the phase? That would be full moon. Got it? Alright, the next one. I am at 9 a.m. So the sun is at 9 a.m. The moon is a waning crescent, and I want to know where in the sky is it. Well, waning crescent, what does that mean? It means it's 45 degrees from the sun. So the moon can either be up here or up here. It's either rising in the east or it's straight up. That's 45 degrees. So waning crescent means the sun has got to be to the left of the moon. So if the moon is here and I go left, well, there's the sun. So that means the moon is right up there. The moon is straight up. One more. Are we having fun yet? Oh, it's 6 p.m. What does that mean? It means the sun is right there. The moon is high in the west. It's right there. So this angle right here, that is 45 degrees. That means this is a crescent, and if I start at the moon and go to the sun, I'm going to the right. So the right hand side of the moon is lit. That makes it a waxing crescent. Got it? Alright, so I think this has got to be long enough here, so I'm going to skip the next few frames, this picture here. And what I'd like you to do in your notebook right now is, what do you know now that you didn't know yesterday that you want to remember tomorrow? Can you write down 3 things for me? Here, here, and here, that you want to remember about how phases work. And then we can talk. Thank you very much.